Adaora and Chinwe could not have been more different, though they shared the same blood and the same roof. Adaora the elder was the pride of the family, beautiful, bold, and ambitious. From the moment she stepped into a room, heads turned and voices hushed. She knew how to charm with her smile, and her confidence draped around her like fine lace. Chinwe, on the other hand, was quieter, a shadow beside her sister's blazing fire. She preferred the company of books in her mother's kitchen, where she helped grind peppers and peel cassava, away from the eyes of the village. While Adaora dreamed of Lagos and wealth, Chinwe's dreams were small, almost invisible, and that was how she liked them. But fate had other plans. Their father, a proud but struggling trader, had managed to secure a match for Adaora with Chiki, a wealthy young man whose family controlled land and businesses in 3 states. The union was to restore the family's fading dignity and bring wealth back into their compound. The household buzzed with preparations. Tailors stitched wrappers of gold and crimson, drummers rehearsed their beats, and elders whispered prayers for fertility and prosperity. For Chinwe, it was a moment of pride, yet somewhere deep inside, a strange unease tugged at her chest. She told herself it was only nerves, but the oracle's proverb whispered in her mind, "When one star shines too brightly, another fades." Adora's laughter sounded like brass tonight, bright, sharp, and hollow. When the last auntie left her room, she dropped the jeweled fan and locked the door. "Chinwe," she whispered, eyes glistening, "I can't do this." She pulled a small necklace from her trunk, cowries threaded on red cord. "Namdi gave me this the night he begged me to run. I said no, but I should have said yes." Chinwe felt the floor tilt. Namdi, the mechanic with gentle hands and a smile that made Adaora forget Lagos dreams. "What of Papa? What of Mama?" Chinwe asked. Adora's shoulders shook beneath her lace blouse. "I was chosen to rescue us, but no one asked if I wanted saving." Chinwe reached for her sister's hands. They were warm, trembling, smudged faintly with charcoal from the power outage earlier. "Tell Chike the truth," she pleaded. "He may forgive. The whole village doesn't have to burn." Adaora laughed softly, sadly. "Men forgive what flatters them and punish what shames them." She pressed the necklace into Chinwe's palm. "If I run, guard them. Guard yourself." Outside, the talking drum rehearsed a wedding rhythm that felt like a countdown. Chinwe stared at the cowries, feeling the weight of a future that didn't belong to her. Morning arrived, dressed in brass band music and gossiping birds. The house smelled of jollof, frying meat, and starch from freshly ironed wrappers. Chinwe pushed open Adora's door and felt the world lurch. Bed neat, veil missing, window unlatched. On the mirror, a note pinned with a hairpin. "Forgive me, I choose my own fate." Their mother's wail tore through the compound like a rip in fabric. Papa staggered, then steadied himself with the wall. Outside, the MC's microphone squealed to life. Guests were already arriving, shimmering in gold and crimson. Shame stalked the thresholds like a patient hunter. Auntie Afeoma arrived with thunder in her steps. "No one will know," she declared, wrists glittering with bangles. "A bride is a veil, a name, a contract. Today we protect the family." Her eyes snapped to Chinwe. "You will wear the dress." The words hit like cold water. "Auntie, I am not Adaora." "You are what we tell the world you are," Auntie hissed, tugging the note from the mirror and crumpling it. Mama, pale and shaking, clung to Chinwe's arm. "Please, my child, help us." The talking drum outside didn't care about truth. It beat for ceremony. Inside, Chinwe felt the cowries in her pocket heat like living things. They dressed Chinwe as if constructing a lie from silk and pins. Aunties tugged her waist beads snug, fastened coral around her throat, dusted her cheeks with shimmer that felt like dust from another woman's road. The jail came last, sculpted high, imperial, heavy enough to tilt her neck. "Chin up," Auntie Afeoma ordered. "You do not blink. You do not speak unless spoken to." In the mirror, Chinwe saw Adora's silhouette but her own eyes. Wide, frightened, honest. Mama slipped a tiny wooden cross into her palm. "God sees hearts," she whispered. "Maybe he will forgive us before the world does." The zipper's final hiss sounded like a sealed secret. The compound erupted as the gate opened for the convoy. Trumpets, ululations, camera flashes. Chike stood near the altar arch beneath a canopy of white lace and hibiscus, regal in a cream agbada with subtle embroidery. His smile was practiced, his posture perfect, but his gaze kept wandering, searching. Chinwe's legs felt like raffia in wind. The MC's voice boomed, "Make way for our bride." The veil descended, turning the world into milk glass. Auntie Ifeoma squeezed her elbow. "Walk." With each step, the earth seemed to ask a question her mouth couldn't answer. Under the veil, voices arrived like echoes from a tunnel. Pastor's baritone, MC's jokes, ululations flaring then dimming. Cheek took her hand and paused, just a breath. "Your hand feels different," he murmured, then smiled to swallow the thought. The vows unspooled like thread across a river. Love, honor, keep. Chinwe repeated words that didn't fit her mouth, each syllable a stone. When the pen was placed before her, the register opened to Adaora and Chinwe. Her fingers shook. A bead of sweat slipped past her temple, caught by coral. She signed a name that wasn't hers and felt the world tilt back into place. Wrong place, but place. Rice rained, drummers pounded. Cameras flashed like lightning bottled for spectacle. In the car to the reception, Mama sat between them like a fragile bridge, smiling too hard, whispering instructions that sounded like prayers. Chike studied his bride with the curious tenderness one gives a puzzle. Familiar fabric, unfamiliar stitching. "You're quiet," he said gently. "Overwhelmed," Chinwe replied, voice small but steady. At the reception arena, the High Life band struck a jubilant chord. Auntie Ifeoma leaned into the car window, her perfume heavy. "Remember, tonight you are Adaora." Chinwe nodded, swallowing. Somewhere beyond the crowd's roar, cowries clicked together in her pocket, counting costs. The reception burned bright with laughter, and plates of steaming jollof, fried meat, and palm wine flowing in calabashes. Chika sat beside his new bride, smiling politely at elders. Yet his eyes flickered toward her with puzzled curiosity. "You dance less than I imagined," he teased, lifting her veil halfway as the MC urged them to rise for the couple's dance. Chinwe's heart pounded against her ribs like a trapped bird. She swayed lightly to the high life rhythm, every movement measured, every smile rehearsed. Guests cheered, blind to the tightness in her shoulders. Later that night, as fireworks lit the sky, Chike whispered, "Adaora, you've grown. Softer, quieter." His hand rested lightly on hers, warm and searching. Chinwe forced a laugh that broke too quickly. "It's the weight of the day." He accepted her words, but a crease lingered between his brows. He studied her like a riddle only time could solve. By morning, the compound was quiet, guests gone, wrappers still fluttering on fences. Chinwe moved carefully through the house, gel loosened, makeup washed, feeling like a thief in borrowed skin. The servants, sharp-eyed girls with quicker tongues, watched her curiously. One whispered, "Madam's walk looks different." Another muttered, "Maybe Lagos changes a bride." Chinwe avoided their stares, clutching a calabash of water as if it were a shield. In the sitting room, Chike's mother studied her intently. The matriarch's gaze was sharp, softened only by the weight of tradition. "Adaora," she said, stressing the name. "Your smile is gentler than before." "That is good. A wife should not shine too fiercely against her husband's son." Chinwe bowed her head in silence, but inside her heart twisted. Adaora had never bowed to anyone. Alone in her new room, Chinwe opened her palm and stared at the cowrie necklace Adaora had left behind. The shells clicked faintly, as though whispering secrets only her ears could hear. She thought of her sister's words, "Guard them, guard yourself." Fear coiled in her chest. What if Adaora returned, demanding everything back? What if Chik discovered the truth before then? She placed the necklace beneath her pillow, but sleep was shallow, haunted by drumming that wasn't there. That night, Chik entered softly, candlelight painting shadows across his face. "Adaora," he said gently, "why do you look at me as if I am a stranger?" Chinwe's throat tightened. Because you are, she thought, but only whispered, I am, learning you anew. His hand brushed her cheek, patient yet suspicious. In his eyes, questions multiplied like unspoken vows. Meanwhile, in a distant town, Adaora and Namdi lived like fugitives. Their rented rooms smelled of engine oil and fried beans, their love pressed between hunger and fear. Adaora scanned newspapers, reading of her own wedding as if it were about another woman. They believe I am bound to cheek, she muttered, voice trembling. Then let them, Namdi replied, wiping grease from his hands. But Adaora's thoughts circled Chinwe like vultures. Her timid sister, what had become of her under the veil? Back at the mansion, Chinwe felt her sister's shadow stretching over her days. Chike's laughter, his casual questions, the way he lingered near. All of it belonged to Adaora's story, not hers. At night, she whispered prayers, not for herself, but for Adaora, wherever she had gone. Yet the cowries burned hotter under her pillow, as if reminding her she was no mere placeholder. She was already written into fate's ledger. The masquerade could not last forever. One afternoon, as Chinwe poured palm wine for visiting elders, she stumbled slightly. A small gasp escaped her lips, soft, unpolished. One of the elders raised a brow. That doesn't sound like Adaora, he said lightly, but his gaze lingered. Chike chuckled it off, but later in their chamber, he turned to her. When did you begin walking so carefully? My Adaora used to stride like she owned the earth. His words pricked. Chinwe lowered her head, clutching her wrapper tighter. She approached the mirror after he left, fingers tracing her reflection. The coral beads, the jail, the painted brows. They shouted Adaora. But the eyes staring back, wide and tremulous, belonged only to Chinwe. For the first time, she wondered if perhaps the lie had carved a new truth, one the world was not yet ready for. Behind her, the mirror seemed to crack faintly in the candlelight, though no hand had touched it. It began with whispers in the marketplace. A trader swore she saw Adaora boarding a lorry at dusk, headscarf low, eyes darting. By evening, the rumor reached Chike's household. Chinwe's blood chilled when a servant leaned in and whispered, Madam, they say your sister has come back. That night, as crickets shrilled, a figure appeared at the compound gate, veil tossed back, eyes glittering with defiance. Adaora. She strode into the courtyard as though she had never left. I want my place, she declared, her voice cutting through the quiet. Chinwe's knees wobbled, her world tilted like a calabash on uneven ground. Behind her, Chike froze, staring between the sisters as though faced with a ghost and a living woman at once. The sitting room became a battlefield without swords. Adaora's voice rose like storm wind. You stole what was mine. Chinwe, trembling, whispered, I never wanted it. They forced me. Their mother wept into her wrapper. Their father clutched his walking stick, unable to speak. Chike's eyes darted between them, suspicion hardening into anger. Adaora's laughter was bitter. The village will hear of this mockery. A substitute bride? What shame! What curse! Chinwe's tears brimmed, but she clutched the cowries hidden in her palm as though they alone kept her upright. For the first time, Chike stepped forward, his jaw tight. Enough! This house will not be torn apart by whispers. But the house was already trembling. That night, Adaora cornered Chinwe outside near the hibiscus hedge. Do you think wearing coral makes you wife? She hissed. Chike is mine. Chinwe's voice shook. You ran away. You chose Namdi. Adaora's eyes narrowed. And I returned. But if the village knows this truth, our family will be disgraced. Unless, she paused, lips curling. Unless you disappear quietly. Chinwe recoiled. You would destroy me? Adaora's laughter was cruel. I would save myself. She pressed the necklace of cowries against Chinwe's chest, hard enough to hurt. Remember who you are, a shadow, and shadows vanish when light returns. Then she walked away, leaving Chinwe gasping as though struck. By dawn, the village buzzed with rumors. Someone had seen two brides in one compound. At the Palm Wine Bar, men laughed. Which is the true wife? Perhaps Chika married twins. But behind the laughter was sharp curiosity. ready to cut reputations. Adaora knew it, and she wielded the threat like a blade. She cornered Cheek's mother. "Tell your son to send Chinwe away, or I will expose everything." The matriarch's eyes blazed. "You shame yourself. You shame us all." But Adaora only smiled, triumphant. From her shadowed corner, Chinwe overheard every word. Fear gripped her, but something else too. A flicker of anger. She was tired of trembling. Tired of being erased. For the first time, Chinwe thought, perhaps the cowries chose me, not her. That evening, as the compound fell into an easy silence, Chinwe sat alone by the courtyard fire. She laid the cowrie necklace before her, their pale shells glinting like tiny moons. All her life she had been background, the quiet sister, the helper. But now the world demanded a choice. Vanish as Adaora commanded, or stand in truth, whatever it cost. When Chike entered the courtyard, he found her staring into flames, eyes steadier than ever. "Adaora," he began, but Chinwe lifted her gaze. "My name is Chinwe." The words shocked even her ears, but once spoken, they could not be taken back. The fire popped, sparks rising into the night like witnesses. Chike froze, the word echoing like a drumbeat in his chest. Chinwe. For a moment, disbelief clouded his face. Then anger ignited. "What madness is this?" he barked, voice cracking across the courtyard. Chinwe's hands trembled, but her eyes did not waver. "You married a lie," she whispered. "Not by my choice. I was forced." The flames between them snapped loudly, as though testifying. Cheek staggered back, running both hands across his face. Memories raced. Adora's bold laughter, Chinwe's quiet steps, the subtle differences he had tried to explain away. His jaw tightened. "So the village feasts on deceit, while I, Chike, stand a fool?" He stormed off into the night, leaving Chinwe alone with her courage and her terror of what would come next. At dawn, Adaora stood in the compound like a queen returned to her throne. "So he knows," she said smugly, adjusting her coral beads. "Then let him choose the real bride." She flung her arms wide. "I am the one he wanted, the one his family paid for," the servants murmured, half fearful, half thrilled at the drama. Chinwe said nothing, but her silence carried weight. The matriarch's gaze darted between them, worry deepening the creases around her eyes. In Chike's absence, Adaora moved freely, as though the battle had already been won. Yet beneath her triumph, her eyes flickered nervously. She knew the village was watching, hungry for scandal. By midday, the marketplace buzzed louder than the flies circling roasted plantains. "Two brides in one bed," someone whispered. "A marriage built on lies," another spat. Traders laughed, children chanted songs of mockery. Shame spread like wildfire, licking at the family's name. Chike entered the market, jaw set, head high. The crowd fell silent, then erupted into murmurs. Some called him deceived. Others cursed him for dishonoring tradition. Chike's silence was heavier than words. His eyes, however, burned with questions no one dared answer. He left without buying a thing, his sandals crunching over dust thick with gossip. That evening, Chinwe sat with her father under the mango tree. His cane leaned against the roots, his face drawn with shame. "My daughter," he said hoarsely, "I failed you. I let fear of poverty make me sell your name." Chinwe's eyes stung, but she held his trembling hand. "We are bound by choices, Papa, but I will not run. I will face whatever truth brings." The stars flickered overhead like distant witnesses. For the first time, Chinwe felt taller, as though her shadow stretched beyond her sister's. The cowries glowed in her lap, and she realized they were not chains but a crown, quiet yet enduring. "I will not vanish," she whispered. "Let the world hear my name." When dawn broke, the gong sounded through the village. The council of elders summoned both sisters, their parents, and Chike to the iroko courtyard. Word spread faster than Harmat and fire. Half the village gathered to witness the scandal. The air smelled of kola nut and judgment. The eldest, Okonkwo, struck his staff on the earth. Two women claimed one marriage, One man stands silent. Let truth speak or tradition will cut. His eyes burned like coals. Adaora lifted her chin defiantly, while Chinwe's heart pounded, yet her feet stayed rooted. Chika said nothing, his face carved from stone. The village waited, thirsty for drama. The Iroko courtyard was still, save for the restless shuffling of villagers. Adaora stepped forward, voice ringing. "Elders, I am the true bride. I was chosen, my bride price paid, my name written in the register." She held up her wrist, jangling coral bangles, like proof of ownership. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Her confidence was fire in dry grass. Then she pointed at Chinwe. "She is an imposter, a coward's shadow. Remove her and let me stand where I belong." Her words cut, sharp as palm fronds. Chinwe felt the crowd's gaze pressing on her, heavy, suffocating. Yet the cowries in her palm clicked softly, like a heartbeat urging her not to crumble. Silence fell heavy as Cheek finally stepped forward. His voice, low at first, cut through like a drumbeat. "When I looked upon my bride, I saw her eyes. They were not Adora's eyes. They were softer, quieter, honest." A gasp rolled through the crowd. Adora's face paled, fury flooding her eyes. He turned, his gaze steady on Chinwe. "Truth was forced into deception, but in that lie, I found a woman who does not pretend. Elders, I claim Chinwe as my wife, not Adaora." The courtyard erupted, some cheering, others scandalized. Traditions shook like a cracked calabash. Adaora's scream pierced the air. "Lies! You will all regret this!" She lunged toward her sister, but elders restrained her with outstretched staffs. Villagers hissed, their adoration souring into ridicule. "The bride who ran," they muttered, "the sister who lied." Adora's beauty, once her crown, now seemed a mask slipping under sweat and anger. She tore free and fled the square, wrapper flapping like broken wings. Namdi appeared at the edge, his face stricken. But instead of comfort, the villagers spat curses at him too. Together they vanished down the dusty road, leaving shame trailing behind like smoke from a dying fire. Elder Okonkwo struck his staff thrice. "The spirits hate deceit, but they bless truth that survives fire." He motioned for Chinwe to step forward. Trembling, she obeyed. "From this day your name is carved in this marriage, not as a shadow, but as light." The crowd roared approval, cola nuts cracked, and palm wine spilled in libation. Chai clasped her hand before all. For the first time, Chinwe did not shrink. She looked into his eyes and saw no confusion, only certainty. In the corners of the crowd, women whispered, "The quiet sister has become the true wife." A crown heavier than coral, lighter than cowries, settled invisibly upon her head. The morning after the council's verdict, the compound felt different, lighter, as though a storm had passed. Chinwe awoke to birdsong, not whispers. She walked through the courtyard without shrinking, her steps measured but sure. Chike watched her, pride softening his face. "Chinwe," he said, voice quiet, "not Adaora. Chinwe, my wife." The words wrapped around her like a garment woven just for her. She picked up the cowrie necklace one last time, kissed it, then hung it on the mango tree where her father often sat. A gift to the past, a seal for the future. In her heart, she knew Adora's shadow might always linger, but shadows only prove the presence of light. And now, finally, she was standing in her own. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button and subscribe for more timeless tales. See you next time.